what's your name? Andrea Yates. What's the problem? I just need him to come. Is your husband there? No. Well, what's the problem? Well, I need him to come. I need to know why we're coming, ma'am. Is there standing next to you? Or she? Or me? Are you having disturbance? Are you ill or what? Yes, I'm ill. You need an ambulance? No, I need a police.
Some of you guys may not remember this case, but it was a pretty gruesome case. It was a really sad case of a mom of 5 that drowned her 5 children in the bathtub in 2001. Her name is Andrea Yates, and Andrea Yates, as of today, is rejecting the chance to go free. Let's talk about Andrea Yates because I think it was her case specifically that really gave people the insight into postpartum depression, what happens to women that suffer with postpartum depression. And that could be a lot of us, myself included, a lot of us that have had children and have gone through that go through this illness, and it's not really recognized or even acknowledged as something that is very plausible for any mom having kids, or any moms in general. Andrea Yates, the Texas mom who drowned her 5 children while in the throes of postpartum psychosis, remains housed in a mental hospital. And if she gets her way, she'll never be released. So Andrea Yates is refusing to leave the mental hospital. About a week ago, the New York Post reported that Yates declined a hearing last month that would have determined whether she was competent to be released from the hospital. Under the terms of her conviction, Yates is eligible to undergo a review each year. She has repeatedly declined to be assessed. The Post learned that Yates, who is now 60, lives in a quiet life inside a Kernsville State Hospital, which is intended for those acquitted of a criminal offense and committed by a court to receive inpatient mental health services. She spends her days making greeting cards and other crafts, often featuring rainbows and butterflies. She sells her crafts at art shows and festivals. Those proceeds of her sales go to the Yates Children's Memorial Fund, which helps people suffering from postpartum depression. Andrea Yates does have access to the internet and often spends time on the family website launched by her husband, where she can look at the photos of her children. Yates was 37 years old in 2001 when she drowned her 5 children in the bathtub of their suburban Houston home. According to the court testimony, she waited for her husband, Rusty, to go to work. When he was gone, she began to kill her 5 children: Noah, John, Paul, Luke, and Mary. Mary was 6 months old. Luke was 2 years. Paul was 3. John was 5. And Noah was 7. And she killed them one by one. After she drowned her children, she called 911 repeatedly. She reported the children's death, then called Rusty, who at the time was a NASA engineer, and told him to come home from work. Andrea Yates was charged with 5 counts of capital murder. The prosecution called the crimes heinous and advocated for the death penalty. But the defense argued that Yates suffered from severe depression and psychosis as a result of her recent delivery, and that caused her to kill her children. They sought intensive mental health treatment rather than prison.
The depths of her illness was overwhelming to me. I remember so well looking and at her, and she had no pupils in her eyes. She didn't know why she needed a lawyer. She believed that Satan lived within her, and she, for the benefit of mankind, wanted to be executed, so that the ruler, as it is so stated in the Bible, and realistically it's the governor of Texas, right, could execute Satan. and therefore she would be able to save the world from Satan.
In interviews with police, Andrea said she killed her children because she was not a good mother. She told a county psychiatrist she wanted to save them from Satan.
Why would Satan want you to do something that saved the children?
Yeah.
Because the act would condemn you. Satan was interested in you and not the children.
There's no question but that, Andrea's world at that time was her psychotic state. And when you're in a depths of psychosis, you make decisions based on that world that may otherwise not be an appropriate call.
What do you guys make of the situation? Andrea Yates is advocating not to leave the institution that she's at right now. She doesn't want to leave. Maybe she just doesn't feel like it's a safe space, And I think that that's something that we maybe have to consider. What do y'all think about that? I mean, should she, she's declining her hearings. I think her declining is advocating not to leave. You know what I mean? Like her declining any of these hearings or the opportunity for her to leave is a way of her saying like, I'm just not wanting to leave. And what do you make of a situation like that? I think that maybe where she's at right now, she's been there for I don't know how many years, at least a good 20 plus years, has been a way in which has been a safe space for her. Anything outside of that probably isn't safe, right? The world is not safe. The people aren't safe. And are people safe around her, right? Like, should people be concerned for their safety if her psychosis is so severe? That's the other thing, too. She was initially convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life. Even behind bars, she expressed delusional thoughts, telling authorities that she had considered killing the kids for 2 years to save them from eternal damnation. My children weren't righteous, she told her jail psychiatrist, according to the court docs. They stumbled because I was evil. The way I was raising them, they could never be saved. They were doomed to perish in the fires of hell. Based on her mental state, Yates' lawyers appealed the case and were granted a retrial. She was found not guilty by reasons of insanity in 2006. A judge sent her to Kernsville. While Yates is eligible for a hearing to determine her sanity, she is not required to seek release. According to the courts, she can spend the rest of her life in the facility. She talks to her husband monthly, despite the fact that they divorced and he has remarried. Her defense attorney, George Parnham, has long maintained that Yates is happy and thriving at Kernsville, the only place she calls home for the past 17 years. She's where she wants to be, where she needs to be. This is what her attorney told ABC News in 2001. And I mean, hypothetically, where would she go? What would she do?
Mental health, I think, has been addressed. That's so important.
Andrea was ordered to a state mental hospital in Kerrville on the edge of the Texas Hill Country, has been home for more than a decade.
She's where she wants to be. She's where she needs to be. And, hypothetically, where would she go? What would she do?
Here at Kerrville State Hospital, Andrea attends group therapy and one-on-one counseling. She has a job. There are no bars or barbed wire. A green line shows patients the boundaries. Parnham still talks to her on the phone and sometimes visits. In not guilty by reason of insanity, the court has jurisdiction for as long as her sentence would have been. In Andrea's case, that's the rest of her life. She comes up for review every year. Parnham says she has waived it every single time.
I think she's afraid and concerned about being in a community. Her notoriety and the issues that she brings will cause people to have harshness toward her. This is a case that will always be in my frontal lobe.
He has supported the Yates Children Memorial Fund to educate people on women's mental health. Andrea's case has brought awareness to mental illness.
This is such a major part of my legal existence. Not only her case, but the aftermath of cases like hers. And I just want juries to understand the mindset, right? That's critical.
This is such an interesting circumstance, I think, for Andrea Yates, right? For this woman to have done what she did, and she received the sentence that she received, right? And she is telling the courts and everybody around her she's not ready to go. She doesn't want to go. Do we give her? Should she get that right to stay where she wants to be? I mean, I think for her declining any type of hearing, she's advocating for herself to a certain degree. Listen, I don't know, but I am kind of curious to know what you guys think in the comments about this whole situation. What do you guys think? I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.